All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Stair Floor, episode 4. I'm your host, HgFin. Here I have Halq and JuiceboxCommando as per usual. But today we have special guest Likeanoob. How's it going?
Hey, man. It's going good. It's going fine.
If you
Dude, that
don't-
white text is fire.
Yeah, dude.
I just pulled up the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out
It's,
to
it's the
Ciethan.
best, you know? You know, it's a special kind of honor to be the first guest on any podcast. It has to be a little bit of jank there.
Yeah, so we came up with this idea to have Noob on, like, when was it, like 5 days ago or some shit? And but unfortunately Ciethan was not available to do a new layout, so here's what we got going on, and we're gonna rock with it. If you don't know who Noob is, he's one of the oldest members in the community, in the sense of just his, not age, just how long he's been around.
Admin.
He set
Boomer
world records before. Yeah, he's a boomer, a very experienced runner.
Set world records when you guys were in diapers. You know, the usual.
And if he says he goes to my rival school who beat
That's
my
right.
team in
Completely.
yeah, so if there's any jokes about us losing the other day, then I might just never
I
have
won't
you
make
return.
any jokes about, what is it, Charlie Brown kick? Something like that. I fell in the blanks there, whatever.
But if you're curious why we have him on, it's because for today's episode we're taking a look back into the early days of PMD history. So he's here to lend us his expertise on the subject, and I wasn't sure how you guys want to start this. So I guess when would you guys say that the scene actually started?
I mentioned it on a couple podcasts before, but it was just a little German boy in Bavaria 14-year-old German boy who decided he was going to record himself playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. You know, surprisingly, with it being probably one of the most popular spin-off games of Pokemon, there wasn't a pre-developed scene for it like there'd be for something like, you know, like Ranger or for other games, like, because speedrunning's been around for many years, and on Twitch and on streaming services even like 2011 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a bizarre thing that it just didn't show up earlier.
Yeah, even though like BRT was released in 2006 in most places of the world, 2005 in Japan, there wasn't really any English speed runs of it until Cobral did it in 2014, 2013.
Looks like his first run was on November 7th of 2013. I got a 3:26:19. I don't know if that one was done in the German language. His first couple runs were done in German, obviously. That was the language he was comfortable with.
And you know,
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's fine. He he did a lot of runs by himself, but I don't think I would say it really like became something like a community until there was a second person that did it, right?
Right. So around that time, he had been affiliated with people like Fretzy. Oh my God, I'm blanking on names. Saruven, just a couple other people from the German speedrunning community. And some of them picked up the runs like Fretzy did. But then other people like Growlithe 1223, M. Bison Fute, just slowly jumped in after seeing videos or seeing that leaderboards had popped up. And then eventually it got the attention of probably the most recognizable name in Pokemon speedrunning history, Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester, like, you know, I believe M. Bison had this really cool idea to do a completely different partner starter combo. The first ever Mystery Dungeon run ever was done with a Squirtle starter and a Charmander partner.
So do you know if there was any like methodology behind that, or was it just kind of like random?
They're the two best non-skitty Pokemon.
Okay.
So the original idea was Squirtle's like overall just a very good Pokemon, right? It has Bubble, which slows a lot of things down. When speed's broken in Mystery Dungeon, everyone knows that if they've played these games. And Squirtle's also just very bulky, right? And the reason why I believe Charmander was used is that it got a game-breaking move at level 19 called Smokescreen, which, puts the whiffer status on a Pokemon and basically makes the other Pokemon miss constantly.
This move had a really big downside, though. I believe in that generation, Charmander learns 2 moves at the same level in the vanilla games. And the way BRT handles this is that Charmander gets one of them at random.
Oh yeah, I remember this because my first ever like practice runs were with this route, because for such a long time when there was information scattered around everywhere, this route, the Squirtle Charmander like kind of pseudo route, was the only route available to us on the Pokemon Speedrunning's website.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's just no resources for Pokemon speedrunning.
Mm-hmm.
And Worcester's run was actually done with Charmander as a partner, because that may have been due to familiarity with Charmander being the partner in the Squirtle Charmander set. But yeah, that was it for such a crucial move that you need for the run to go well for boss strategies. It was asinine to try to do it on a coin flip, basically.
Yeah.
So if you didn't get the 50-50, you just like reset, right? You didn't go to Gulpin.
I think you still try.
You still tried.
Oh, okay.
You usually got that in the middle of Cavern, the second to last dungeon.
This is back in a time where world records are still beaten by this margin, but like it was like 10-20 minutes for every new world record.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was such a large margin. Notably the record before that was well, I guess it wasn't that different. Okay, so the difference is Worcester was running on Red Rescue Team, which is really universally seen as the inferior version to Blue Rescue Team.
That was going to be my question, because when did we decide? Was it on Blue Rescue Team? No, you just answered, but when did we figure out that Blue Rescue Team was the way to go?
Well, all you have to do is just kind of look at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the reason Worcester decided to use Red is because he was already using his Game Boy player every single day for his main series Pokemon speedrun, so it may have just been the most convenient thing to use for him.
Yeah, I think we don't have a confirmation. Yeah, we don't really have a confirmation on like why he did it, but it's like the combination of Game Boy player being a more readily capturable device at that point, and also he might have not owned Blue Rescue Team. We're not really sure.
We actually have somebody in the chat who was a moderator for Worcester at the time. It was just the most convenient thing for him. DS capture was around, but it was really scarce. I don't think DS capture became really prevalent until like late 2014, 2015, when Loopy just became a workaholic and started mass producing. But somebody asked about Zapdos. Now I'm curious myself. I'm gonna go look at Mount Thunder in that run.
What year was
the thumbnail I go to is at like 8 HP, so it's not looking good.
Love to see it.
What year was this then?
This was May of 2014.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was mid 2014 still.
Now, the interesting thing, I guess, this was actually the run that inspired me to start playing PMD, because I had already seen some Worcester's content, so it was recommended to me on, I believe it was like June 1st of 2014. And then I started grinding and, just kind of learning about the game from what I could, just watching the video. Because I didn't know at that point there were like groups you could join to get information from the people who actually play the game. Until I think I saw Cobral's run and then found his Skype through that and then asked him for a link to join the Skype group at that point. It was very hard to get into a Skype group because they're not public. There's not a link that you can click on to instantly join. You have to like know somebody that's in there and have them add you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is all done through Skype. This is crazy.
Inclusive thing, yeah.
And it wasn't intentional. That's just how Skype's designed, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was no public anything until like Reddit forums, Discord, stuff like that. Because
the true Zoomers don't even remember that Skype was just something that we all had to use. It wasn't even just speedrunning stuff. If you wanted to make a friend in Minecraft, you had to like try to direct message them in Minecraft and shit and try to get their Skype name. Yeah. Holy shit.
Dude, all of my Minecraft friends and my friend groups were in Skype. I still miss the Skype ringtone sound or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Rest in peace, Skype. But yeah, that's the time we're dealing with. So this is how like kind of close off everything is. So
and, something else like very notable to note is that there was no speedrun.com.
Okay, so what were we using?
Oh yeah, so there was no centralized leaderboards for any game. So every game either was hosted on a spreadsheet or through a website that they owned.
Okay.
And for our case, this was PokemonSpeedruns.com, which I don't know if it's still up. I think it may just have a message that says, "Hey, we moved." Or it may just redirect directly to speedrun.com. I'm not sure.
The thing about that though is like it was very hard to find still like individual categories too. It had like a huge list of world records from every game and every side game, and then you would have to find the individual game somewhere else to go find second place and below. So it was very like scattered information wise, and like
and if you got a world record and you wanted to put it in the list of world records, you had to manually update that site yourself.
Oh, okay.
Like because you had to like update. It's like it was a wiki.
Yeah.
So you had to use wiki editing tools to like put your name there, put the time there, the date, and then a link to the video.
So essentially, there's like the Wild West. There's no like leaderboard mods. There's no like verification of any of this.
There's no speedrun politics.
Yeah.
At
the
all.
the only like quote unquote verification is if there was like a troll run or something.
Yeah. Okay.
There was like, obviously a problem. Then like the community members would just pop up and be like,
are there any problems that come to mind?
Well, not that came to mind, but that was really due to Pokemon speedruns as a community requiring video on all submissions.
Okay.
So it really discouraged any efforts to manipulate results or anything.
I still remember like one instance of some guy claiming like a 1 minute 1 second world record or something with a troll video. But like stuff like that would happen.
Just your basic shit.
Quickly. Yeah.
So we go from there, and Halq, you were just saying this is when you got, after watching Worcester, this is when you got into the scene. How quickly after did you do your first run and discover like the Skype group and all this?
Oh, I started immediately.
Right after?
My first run was probably like 15th of June or so, and I had like a 3:54 was my first time. And I was very determined to get the world record because at that point I had never held a world record, or I'd never taken one that somebody else had previously set. So it was very important to me, and I really liked the game, and I thought it'd be cool to be like, etched into the history books or whatever.
Yeah.
So actually it only took me a month and a half. Cobral had the record 3:03:58, and then like right before I got mine, and Bison beat it just barely, which was probably the first time the record's been beaten by less than a minute. And Bison got a 3:03:52.
Oh, okay.
A 3:03:02, not 52. And then I think maybe 2 days later, I beat that with 3:01:55.
When you started, did you think it was like, oh, this is going to be free? Or
I didn't think I'd get it in a month and a half.
Okay.
I thought it'd take a lot longer. Like the run just came literally out of nowhere. Like it wasn't even good, but the last 2 dungeons carried. Super hard. I didn't even get double chestnut. And the interesting thing about that run that I did was up to this point, emulators were allowed on the leaderboards. I was using no cache GBH because it was the only thing my computer could run. I was using a wired PS3 GameStop Afterglow controller.
Okay, nice.
And it was absolutely miserable.
Just one of the shitty third-party ones, yeah.
Yeah, this was mid-2014 when Xarian came onto the scene in main series Pokemon. And he came literally out of nowhere with a world record for Pokemon Red. And Worcester got very suspicious of that because it was done on Gambate. So he, at that point, ordered that all world records would need to be on console in order to be world records.
Well, what's the problem with the Gambate?
It's just like emulators, especially at that time, weren't like 100% reliable.
Okay.
And Worcester is very much a console purist, so
I mean, there's plenty of people that were, console purists at the time. It wasn't just Worcester.
Yeah, I still am.
There's a ton of people that would rather, play on the original hardware. Emulators are naturally unreliable kind of things. There's only like a couple of emulators out there now that are, speedrun safe. Even like the Gambate on the first 2 generations come to mind, but that wasn't even developed until late 2019. So especially at a time like this, emulators were definitely like a gray area type deal, especially for speed sense. So especially with what was happening in the main series at the time, like Halq was saying, they just decided, okay, we're gonna be console now. Emulators show up, but they're hidden by default. it's what was very common for a long time in PMD, even until recently.
So we're on speedrun.com.
Great things for Loopy sales.
We're actually not on speedrun.
So but there was an option to hide emulators on the site. Okay.
No, it was just so what happened was not everyone jumped ship and bought a DS capture card immediately. I did, but that was just me. I think Noob did as well when he came in, but he came in long after this was done.
I'm not even in the picture yet.
So what happened was we still allowed emulator runs, but they were in the video title, and for all intents and purposes, they were called BKT, best known time.
Okay.
But for any console runs that had, surpassed all others, that was known as the world record. So just for, I guess, bragging rights, kind of, like, world record was only allowed to be set on a console.
Okay, sure.
It's really funny that you mentioned this because we're like around mid 2014, and we'll get to this in a few, months later, but Halq actually set a Time Darkness BKT on emulator in like September of the same year, just because it was on emulator and it was a fast run, but it was on emulator, so we had to denote it as BKT.
This just sounds like a Korean pop band, fucking BKT.
BKT.
So, all right, so now what? Are we still in 2014?
Yeah, then at that point, the BRT record starts to get, at the time, what we consider to be a little insane. M. Bison, after I got my 30155, 2 months later, he got the first sub 3 in Blue Rescue Team with what we consider to be a really insane run at the time, clearly, since that had never been done before, but it was on emulator. So it was unfortunately plagued with that BKT label.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was the very next day, I got a 25909.
Really? Wow.
On console.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally came out of nowhere. And in terms of execution, it was worse than my original record because the 25909 got double chestnut.
Mm-hmm. I guess we really like glossed over the whole idea of strats. We keep saying numbers and we aren't really going into strats.
Yeah.
But really the whole thing is we haven't really been able to, we haven't been able to develop any new stuff. We're still basically doing Skitty Squirtle with the same kind of linked move set, with double slap cheese, attract cheese, and really just relying on good RNG, good dungeons, good double chestnut.
Double chestnut was a complete crapshoot. There were no strats to recruit an APOM, and there were no, ways to help that. Nobody ever thought to use Meowth for pickup necessarily. Like, it was just, if you got it, great. If you didn't, have fun going back up there. So
Bison gets his first sub 3, and then you just beat him that day by getting double chestnut.
Very next day, yeah.
But so everyone at this time is essentially just like gambling the whole time, not really thinking about strats.
PMD is already a casino enough.
Yeah.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you go for double chestnut, that's the high rollers room. They're high in the casino. Because either you're saving 5 minutes or you're losing 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah, and I mean there are like some niche strats that people did. They had some where do you link moves? People like to do it after steal. People like to do it before steal. At this time, a lot of people were doing it before Mount Steal. Some of the top runners decided to try to hold off on it as much as possible. The idea of frustration wasn't even in the picture yet.
Right.
I believe. Actually, if someone wants to check the BRT guides real quick, Worcester has a very, very old no quick saves. What do you do if you get frustration? The outline. And that was like he was like definitely pioneering strats back in the day, but he didn't really have any wants to grind the category out to get good times per se. It was more like, here's an outline. I don't really want to play this game that much anymore. It's kind of, I think this is a secondhand account of a secondhand account, but it was more like a lot of people play this game, and they're like, this is fun casually. The speed game's kind of a crapshoot, and it turns a lot of people off, especially super high, level speedrunners that have a lot of prestige in other games that are execution based. That's my working theory, and I think that's kind of what happened.
Okay.
So it's also worth mentioning at this time, while we are talking about BRT, other games were still being ran, like Explorers of Sky and Explorers of Time and Darkness were out, Gates of Infinity was out. Now the problem was it was almost twice the time in run length.
Right.
So
yeah.
That was something that was like raced like once a week or once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really had a chance to come close to Cobral's pre-existing Sky record, which was like 650 something with Pikachu and Mudkip. 655.30, I believe it was. So, I mean, most of those runs just end up me quitting. So, because you can only do so much with Pikachu and Mudkip.
Yeah. So
if you get to chapter 11 and you survive, you're probably getting world record.
You gotta explain, because why?
Yeah, that's
why
all
Pikachu? Because now we laugh at this shit. Like,
that's what Cobral decided to play with. We don't have any other reason than that.
If you don't know, Pikachu is really, really bad in this game. Like,
my
just because of all the ground types and things.
Headcanon is that he kind of did an amalgamation of kind of ideas of strats and BRT that didn't really pan out. Like, the idea of Pikachu was thought of in BRT, like near the very beginning, just because paralysis is kind of broken. And then like accuracy reducing was obviously something we used in BRT. So the idea of Mudkip Mud Slap is an idea that might have gone through his head.
Mm-hmm. So that's we have this guy to thank, essentially. Thanks, Cobra. For how long were we using Pikachu for, though? That's my question.
For a while. We actually got, I believe it was Lucky Typhlosion, who's very notorious in the main series Pokemon community for just being the absolute biggest stream monster. And just constantly, I don't want to say giving head ass takes, but most of his opinions were just kind of like, Lucky, please, stop.
Okay.
Which Lucky Please ended up becoming a very big meme in main series.
Mm-hmm.
But he was watching my stream, I think, at the time, and said, "Why do you guys not use like somebody else, like Riolu and Vulpix?" And it's like, well, so literally, we were doing a race with Pikachu and Mudkip. Cobra completed the whole run. I had an issue with Hidden Land, and I couldn't finish. I think my DS had a problem where the battery connectors weren't precisely in the spot they should be, so sometimes my DS would randomly shut off. I have highlights on my Twitch about this. But immediately after the race, I get a DM from Cobra. I was like, "Hey, I was going to try out those Riolu strats. You want to do another race right now?" I said, "Sure, buddy. I'm 17. I've got the energy. Why not?"
The OG Zoomers. So it was just that frustrating that you guys just kind of did it right there.
Yeah, and that's when the 6:30:13 came in, December 24th. We had just done a race immediately before that.
Okay.
So it was funny.
Christmas Eve world record, baby.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Christmas Eve world record, huh? So
Riolu Vulpix was really like a norm for a long time. The partner changed a lot, but we really had Riolu starter for you guys can probably remember the time when we still use Riolu for Wonder Mail, but even for No Wonder Mail, you guys could probably remember when we switched off of Riolu and No Wonder Mail runs.
Yeah, because like that's the whole thing. Like, what was your guys' reasoning for using Riolu in general? Because like now it's like in Wonder Mail, we only use them for the fight gym.
Before we get to that, we need to go back to BRT because that was just kind of like a tangent to explain the other things.
Oh yeah, let's go. We can go back to it. Yeah.
At that point, my record of 259.09 stood for a little bit, and then Cobra got a 253.52 on DS, and that was just like, you win. Congratulations, you win. You've won PMD speedrunning, and you can finally take a break. I promise, it'll be fine. We're fine here.
Yeah, like in that mind, no one's beating that record for a while, like a long time, and
it stood.
It
did. That's where the record stood for several months. But with the Sky discovery of Riolu, there's a lot of bragging rights and personal, like the feeling of accomplishment you could have when you're the person that figures out something for a game. So I took that opportunity. I was like, all right, I'm going to figure out what's good in Time and Darkness, because clearly this thing that I just ran with, Pikachu Mudkip, wasn't good enough for this game. So what if the strats for Time and Darkness weren't good either?
Right.
But the immediate problem is that Riolu is not present in the game.
It's a Sky exclusive.
Yeah, and I tried a couple things. All right, Skitty's really good in Blue Rescue Team. Why don't we try Skitty? Oh my god, those multi-hit moves miss so much. Jesus Christ, she's terrible.
Yeah, multi-hit moves are very bad.
Yeah, and eventually settled.
We weren't thinking about. I don't even know if in Time Darkness if normalize is a thing that
normalize is in Sky Time Darkness. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we were like, okay, Skitty could have been broken if it had double slap to burst through the normalize, like going through Fugitive Future segment with normalized. No, there's no way.
It sounded unthinkable. Yeah.
It sounded not viable at all.
So eventually settled on Meowth, just because that was the only thing that really hit hard, that had a really good powerful stab move left. That wasn't one of the starters, because you're just kind of inherently biased against the starters at that point when you've ran Skitty and BRT for so long, when Pikachu Mudkip was the hardest thing you've ever attempted in a video game in Sky, and then Riolu's found to be better. It's like, why even use these little shits that are just like, they're just only here because they're the starters in the main series.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. If you're okay with this, Halq, let's move through Sky / Time Darkness a little bit before we go back to Blue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I had to say about Time and Darkness.
Okay.
Like, things were starting to move because of the Riolu run.
Okay. It, we were now thinking this is. I mean, I still weren't in this picture yet, but it was like Halqery and Cobral are in here for the Gen 2 games. There's still people like M Bison and like all sorts of people that are watching. It was like even though there's only a few runners, there was still like a decent amount of people talking about the game.
And the interesting thing on top of that is I was the only American that was actively running the game. Everyone else was either from Europe or Australia. And with Europeans, if you think Cobral's accent is really thick and hard to understand now, you have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
I needed a translator for his English. And it was so hard to understand what he was saying in a voice chat. And after doing several 6-hour Sky runs with him, I kind of learned. I picked up on
it. You just naturally had to adapt.
A lot of these not a lot, but some of these videos that are YouTube archived. I know Halq basically YouTube archives most of his runs. You can probably go back and listen to those, those voice calls, because I believe that without the PMD community, Cobral's English would still be pretty not understandable.
I'm actually kind of curious. I mean, it's better. It sounds good now, but I do really want to hear what it sounded like before then. But it's actually crazy how you were the only American runner, because now if you look at the leaderboards, like I would say it's primarily
and that's why I was so eager to spring on to Likeanoob100 when that guy went live with that run that one day. I was like,
oh my god, we'll get to that. We will get to that. But yeah, like that the interesting thing about that Time Darkness run also was it was December. It was the last day of 2014, and we got on speedrun.com like the last day of 2014. So that Time Darkness run was the last run that was done like in a world record setting that did not go directly to speedrun.com.
It's interesting to talk about how leaderboard mods were selected when we made that switch to speedrun.com. What there was on Pokemon Speedruns, I mentioned it was a wiki, but it was also a forum. And when the speedrun.com discussions started happening, they opened up a forum post and was like, if you're interested in being a leaderboard mod, put what game you're interested in being a mod for and why, how much experience you have with the game and, why you think you'd be a good moderator. So only a couple people ended up doing it. A lot of the mods that were on the team early, like me and Bison, DHRGR, Cobral, we were there because we submitted those forum posts and we were like, this is why this game means so much to me. This is why I think I'd be good for the team. Now Bison's not with us anymore on the leaderboard team, but Geo DHRGR is. He chimes in from time to time, about policy ideas, and Cobral's obviously still here kicking. So it was a very strange selection process looking back on it.
Yeah.
Because now all you need to do to be a moderator of a game is just submit the game and be like, you can create a speedrun for clicking a mouse like 1,000 times, and then you're the moderator for it.
Okay,
with
nice.
Zero effort.
Yeah.
But for some reason we had to go through like channels, like Cool Trainer Michael, DeBomb Stu, and Worcester had to like work with Pac, the owner of speedrun.com at the time, to arrange for these games to be on speedrun.com. It was a very convoluted process. There wasn't like a formal request button at all.
Is this the site like new at this time, or like?
Oh yeah, very
like,
new.
Okay.
It was, the thing was, speedrun.com was made like February 2014.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't really become a mainstream thing until 2015. The Pokemon series as a whole was kind of like the new adopters to the idea. And still at that point in speedrun.com's history was, when they were still trying to migrate communities from like their separate communities onto this huge like mainstay area.
And a lot of communities resisted this just because like
so
they're worried about, they want their runs to be presented a certain way. They want complete creative control over how their runs look, how the leaderboards look. And speedrun.com at the time couldn't really promise that to everybody, which is why the Donkey Kong Country community specifically stayed away for so long. I think Cheese has probably stories about how much Donkey Kong Country hates speedrun.com.
I know about this.
I think they have something. I think they have something on their website that said speedrun.com can suck my donkey balls, something like that. just printed on the website somewhere. So it was not very popular to switch to a centralized leaderboard because at that point you're taking away like your community's, like, I don't want to say individuality, but like their space. You're taking their space and you're forcing them to go here to the space where everybody else shares.
Yeah.
And so that's what causes people issues sometimes.
So was there resistance like in this community about that moving there?
I think there was not enough of a community to have a resistance for it.
Yeah.
Because there was these, what we talked about before, the Pokemon speedruns.com area, and there was the forums, but there wasn't really like a combination of the two that was easy to find. And I think I came into the picture like right before this stuff started happening, so I wasn't like really in the community for that transition. Hal could probably answer that a little bit better. But yeah, I don't think there was much.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of resistance because there just wasn't a need for us to need the resistance. But yeah, like this was like this 2014 time was when we got some pretty significant, I want to say glue pieces to our community. Like I did my first ever run November 2014, and I think whoever found my stream and like said to the group chat, hey, this guy's speedrunning Mystery Dungeon, I would have never
I followed the Blue Rescue Team category on Twitch, and I saw every time I see the viewer number not be 0, I'm always peeking in there to see what everyone's doing. You go
recruitment mode, like the fucking army recruits.
Oh yeah,
looking for
at this time we didn't have a 1,000-person Discord. We had a 6-person group chat on Skype.
Yeah.
The army recruits in high school, like just trying to find the seniors who are failing. Just come over here to our fucking community.
Yeah, and it was hilarious because I was doing my runs on emulator on a like 2007 or 8 laptop, which like had enough power for me to have the emulator and my notes and chat, but I didn't have enough space to put all 3. So like I had my emulator and my notes over my chat. So I remember finishing my run and being like, oh crap, I didn't like my chat was like wasn't able to see my chat.
Yeah.
And this was like my first ever stream like ever. So I was like, oh, no one's watching me anyway. That's okay. And I tab in and I see like so many messages from these 3 dudes. And I'm like, what is going on?
Just having a full-blown conversation without you knowing, dude. Wow.
We were just talking so much shit. Like, man, this guy this guy like died to an Ninkata in Lapis Cave. Like, what is he doing?
Were you talking during the run? Like, they hear? Okay.
They can. I don't know if Josh remembers, but I feel like I should have been talking, but I wouldn't be surprised if I wasn't.
I think your mic was muted until you finished, and then you realized there was people checking. And you went,
right.
oh, hello,
right.
or something like that.
I also think I like accidentally muted my mic and didn't realize it was muted. you know, like the classic first time Twitch streamer stuff. But yeah, like after that happened, somebody sent me I think Josh sent me the invite to the group chat, and I was like, oh, there's actually people here.
But yeah, at that point, this was like you said, that was like November, December 2014. Going into 2015, things definitely started to slow down, unfortunately, just because, you know, the records at the time were seemingly impenetrable. At this time, all I was able to do in Sky was a 6:38:39, which was still 8 minutes behind Cobral's record. That was done in like February.
Okay.
But in March of 2015, that 2:53:52 I mentioned from Cobral, where he was like, "Congratulations, you won speedrunning." M Bison shattered that, getting the first ever sub 250, 2:49:07.
Wow.
Once again, it had that BKT label slapped on.
The BKT.
That was still our rule at
the BKT. Yeah.
So and like that record stood for so long.
Yeah, like we even in like 2017, we were still looking at M Bison's time, which was technically the fastest in the leaderboard, in that category, but it was emulator. So we were like, what do we do here? We were like speculating that emulator saved like 2 minutes 50 seconds or something like that. Like, okay, add that time to Bison's, how did it compare to everybody else? But he still had like the best time on the leaderboards for that category. And I say that category for that time because later in that same month, or like even like during that same month, we actually had a thing that shook BRT speedrunning forever.
Yeah. So I was this is a little embarrassing, but I was searching myself on YouTube, Halqery Mystery Dungeon, just to see how I was searching Pokemon Mystery Dungeon on YouTube, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon speedrun on YouTube, to see where my videos fell, like within that search. And I saw this run from this user named Hide Sugar. Okay. It was a 2:25 Red Rescue Team run. I was like, Red 2:25? How do? So I was really lazy. I did not really care to figure out why. So what I did was like, hi guys, I have this video. I posted it in the group chat. I'm like, you guys figure this shit out. And like the HRGR was like, oh, they're using the quick save thing, and when they reset, it's always the same.
Oh.
And then the community got to work, and I think it was literally like a day or two later, Worcester had put out a run 2:33:02, because Worcester will show up when something big happens. He won't say anything, but he reads all these community Discord channels, and when he sees something he likes, he'll just get to work and won't tell anybody. He didn't tell anybody about his routing. He didn't tell anybody about his strats. He just kind of went to work.
Yeah, I mean, I respect it, like the chasing the new idea to like understand it and to come up with a route for it. That's what routers do. That's just, you know, a part of speedrunning. And he definitely like was the pioneer of this new save and quit category, we called it. And
at this point it was still any percent.
Yeah, it was not split at all, but it was like this new tech to make the game like fresh and enjoyable.
Were you guys ever off put by that? He never really like reached out to help develop the strats.
He never even posted his notes. No, I mean he got better about it later on, because I remember when the Pokemon Discord started, I would see like pages and pages of conversations between Noob and Worcester, like just talking about what's good. When Noob decided to get really really good at the game all of a sudden, and like he was trying to help route the game and make it better. But at the time, Worcester had not even shared his notes, I don't believe. And still, took him like 6 to 8 months to share those notes. But
I mean, it's just like
it's his decision,
Yeah, of course. It's like it's your work. It's you putting the time in. You putting the time in to figure out what's what you think is the fastest with your routing. I wouldn't. There's a part of you that wants to hold on to that and
now,
be like, Discord, this is my baby.
I mentioned the PMD Pokemon Discord just now. Discord started in about February or March of 2015.
Yeah, our Discord did not start until mid 2016, so that even wasn't around yet.
There's a story about why we made the Discord as well,
which we should talk about when the time is there.
We'll talk about that when the time comes, because we're still an hour or like a year away from that. But this is still like in the Skype call. it's a group chat. So,
the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, talking about what's going on.
But at the same time as this is all going on, there exists a Discord, the Pokemon Speedrunning Discord, which I guess we were all expected to just join and have our discussions there.
Do you know when that started? Actually, I don't know.
It's probably like March. Actually, I can check it 1 second because I have a plugin on Discord lets me look at when servers were made.
Yeah, so like what ended up happening was there was a main Pokemon Discord that had channels for every game, and we were just we went to that and we would talk through that, and we would talk about strats, talk about what's going on, stuff like that.
That was the idea, but we did not jump over right away, and there was not any formal notice given to us that we had to migrate, that we had to have our discussions there. So when Save and Quit came out, I was very vocal about this completely changes the way you play the game, and I do think the original playstyle should be preserved in the form of its own category. And I brought that to the moderators of speedrun.com, which at the time were just me, Cobra, Likeanoob, DHRGR, M Bison, and maybe Fretzy. And they were all like, sure, yeah, that sounds fine to me. So I went ahead and made that change overnight. And Worcester comes in the next morning fucking furious that these leaderboards had been changed. He's like, hi, why was this not discussed in the Discord? What did you do? We're like, well, this completely changes the way the game is played. It makes it from adaptability to memorization. And we felt that the leaderboard should be preserved a certain way. I forgot to mention Worcester is also a leaderboard mod. He's our token main series administrator, but he's also a player. So
yeah, it was very important for us to have that bridge, right? Just because we were still part of the Pokemon series, like fully the Pokemon series, and that means there was stuff tied to that we were expected to do. And also, like, was that decision a great idea in the moment? Probably not, just because it was a one-day discussion. We were all like, this was 2015. I was 15. Halq was 18, 19. We were very it was still a very young mod team around there. So we make mistakes. I'm
yeah. There definitely should have been more of a buffer between the decision being made and it going immediately into effect. Yeah. But what ended up happening was Worcester was the only super mod for PMD, and he ended up removing me as a moderator since I was the one who had done the leaderboard split.
Oh, no way.
So he made like a big forum post on why I was removed.
Wow.
None of it made any sense. Like people like Noob, Fretzy, Cobra, DHRGR, and Bison, they were all really defending me because it was a decision we all made together. I just happened to be the one to pull the trigger. So I complained to Lightneater, who was one of the admins of the speedrun.com website at the time. And not only did I get reinstated, I was added as a super moderator.
So they heard everything. They read your response and your complaints, and you're like, yeah, this guy's fucking right. We're just going to give him all the power.
You're right, though.
And the first thing I did, there was a checkbox that says series mods have power. I unchecked the shit out of that immediately. Because, people like Cool Trainer Michael and the Bomb Stew were having moderation powers for our game when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
I think the people who govern a game, or govern's a strong word, people who administrate the leaderboards of a game should be people that are familiar with the game. Full stop. That's just how it should be. And you'd think that a decision like that would cause controversy. Nobody said a word. Nobody cared. Just to show you how much those main series mods cared.
I didn't even know that you did that until you just said that on air right now. But yeah,
I love how you say that. That just shows how little the main series moddies even cared about the scene. But
Worcester kept his access because he was added directly to the game,
right?
So it had his hands on it. But from there, everything started to settle down a little bit. There were people that DM'd me why'd you fuck the leaderboards, quote unquote, from Amoeba UK. Because he was
you don't have to call him out like that.
Oh, sorry. From one of the players.
I'll bleep it out. Cut it out.
Yeah.
He's talked to me about saying I still have that viewpoint, but it's it's whatever now.
He still has that viewpoint? No, I don't feel bad about calling him out anymore. I don't feel bad.
I don't.
I mean, especially we're not even close to this point yet, but with the warp scarf stuff in quick save now, you can't say it. That's the same category. It's just not.
It's it's a very opinionated line. I don't don't think there's a wrong or a right. Personally, I don't think there's a wrong or right stance to have there. It's just our mods decided it was unique enough to have its own category, which I think a lot of people agree with.
Yeah, so because of that, strats were able to continue to develop for the quick save method of playstyle, as well as the regular way of playing the game, or the old fashioned way, the no quick save, no unavailable. It was called single segment at the time. Because we, clearly you need to quick save the game in order to access this manipulation. So clearly the way to circumvent that is to make the original category single segment, where you're not allowed to save and quit the game for any reason. Now, this did have some unintended consequences where people aren't allowed to safety save midway through a run and reset from that if they were to die or something. So it took actually an embarrassingly long amount of time to change that category name, unfortunately.
I think the name single segment was kind of borrowed from other games where it was like you have this save quit category that might be segmented, and then you have this single segment time. I think that's kind of what the idea was behind that. I think I was still very, very young in terms of like making the decisions. I kind of was like, I've just been put on this mod team. I'm kind of gonna play Switzerland for a while. But yeah, this actually, didn't this happen like late 2015, early 2016?
This was like mid 2015, I think. But after that happened, clearly, since there was the threat of your mod shipper being removed, we all joined the Discord. It's funny how that worked out. So we're all now happy members of the Discord.
Join or be banned. I mean, join just because you should, And
I mean, we warm up to it. It's just when a new service comes out, there was like things like I think Uvu was around, which was a voice service. There was Mumble servers. Like, these things come and go. And at that time, it wasn't too out of the question to assume Discord would be the same way. So that's why we really were kind of hesitant to jump on. Because we didn't know about the longevity of the service.
Oh, you saying Uvu put me back into middle school, dude. Oh my god.
How could the noob say Uvu and Uvu and the Skype DMs? Shit like that.
Oh no, it's OOVVO.
Yeah, it's
OOVO.
Which is crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think a really big boost. I mean, there were some like world records that happened in between last time we talked about save and quit being found in March and kind of that leaderboard stuff happening. The biggest one being a emulator runner named Chancey Ness kind of came in and did a good amount of optimization to the save and quit route and got a world record of his own. He actually, there's not a lot of people know this because nobody cares about save and quit, but he made a program that opens up on your computer, and if you press a key, if you press like the arrow keys, it'll cycle between each floor, its layout, and where you start and where the stairs are.
That's pretty sick.
A shitty MS Paint drawn like path.
Oh really? Oh wait, that's kind of fun.
At the time that was functional because we did not know how important your exact movement was.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, this is the floor, and this is how you get there. Go get it.
And like that, that was a very interesting way to learn the basic route. The problem with that is that route kept changing. It had little minor changes here and there by different people, and it was always outdated. But like it's one of the few times that someone's like made an external program for these games that I feel like needed a shout out, because I find it very significant from a CS dude myself.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, because I don't know if we finished talking about the runner, but the original runner who did the first like quick save run, what was their name again?
Worcester.
No, the quick. That was Worcester. No, I thought it was somebody else who did red. Who did red?
Hide on sugar.
Oh, Hide Sugar.
Yeah.
Japanese runner.
It was a Japanese run. That's what
okay.
Yeah, I mean, still today we're very segmented from the Japanese community just because of the language barrier, obviously. So had not been for that YouTube search at the time, I don't think the overseas community, us, would have known about that strategy. Or it may have been a couple more years, I think.
It definitely would have been a while longer, because they obviously use a different video hosting website for their speedruns.
Mm.
Yeah, they tend to prefer Nico, but it just so happened that there was a run that somebody had archived onto YouTube, which is why YouTube archiving is important.
Yeah.
You never know who's going to be watching. You never know who's going to decide to jump in the community because of you.
Do we know if that runner's still around at all? Or did you ever?
Idea.
I'm assuming you guys never even had a chance to have contact.
No, we never contacted that person.
Okay. All right, sorry. I don't
know if they're the person that discovered that technique. They're just the person I saw using it.
I'm curious about that now, how they came around to realizing that, but moving on from that.
You probably ask AutoKey and then circle back.
The real funny thing, like, I don't think it's funny. I mean, it's not, I would say funny, but the interesting thing about even the international, like us versus the Japanese community, was they actually use a different timing system too.
Right.
You have to watch the entire credits before you split.
You need to wait till the game says end.
Yeah. Which means like that red time that was a 2:26:36 was actually a low 2:20 in actual time.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is really fucking ridiculous for Red Rescue Team, by the way. Can I just say that? Even for 2021 standards?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something, all right.
So yeah, I completely understand why you guys were like, holy shit. Yeah, we gotta figure this shit out. But so I didn't mean to backtrack from there. We can go back to the present time that we're talking about. Yeah,
so at this point, Quick Save is having a renaissance because it's still brand new and things are being discovered about it. At this point is where we discover that, you know, your exact movement matters. I come in the Discord in the morning and Worcester's flipping his shit about a seal that he keeps seeing in Frosty Forest.
Oh yeah, the seal. There was a seal on, I think, like floor 12 of Mount Freeze that we could not figure out why it was appearing. There was like some movement we were doing and he was showing it, and then sometimes we go back and it would not be there.
Okay.
I think it ended up being an IQ thing. That
really?
was like so niche. But like it's getting to that point where it was like, if you had these IQs turned off, it would change how the floor would work. Like the layouts are still the same, but like the AI of the enemies would change or do other things or spawn in different places. And
what was it like about the seal that bothered you so much though?
It just got in the way. Right?
Okay.
It was literally like, just came up and just said sup, like just posted in front of it.
like this is the room, and then like the stairs are like right here, and you spawn in this room and a hallway going here.
Yeah.
So you would go through that hallway, but sometimes there was a seal in that hallway. It was like that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
It was less that there was a seal and more that sometimes there was a seal that was the problem.
Like why?
Yeah. Like it would be like, okay,
if there was always a seal, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah,
right.
We
would have just moved like a couple extra tiles in some way, shape, or to get it out of the way. The biggest like not to be found or renaissance yet that I feel like could be figured out in the next couple of years by someone who would be very like gung-ho about saving quit is to figure out how movement affects spawn. Because even through like my 2014 like 2016 all icon save and quit time, I was just, you know, doing trial and error, like figuring out, okay, I spawned here, here's the stairs, how do I move to get there? And it's just a lot of trial and error to get from point A to point B. If someone can figure out exactly how you're supposed to move to do that, you could optimize the game probably a lot more than it is even right now.
Yeah, like some sort of a like equation or some shit to figure out how that works.
Yeah, so this is when things were happy and peaceful in the Discord, and it was a good time. Now at this point, there's a couple more world records that get broken. I got the world record for Sky for the first time in July of 2015. And for both Blue Rescue Team and Sky, I was the first American to ever have the record, which it sounds weird now because our scene is a little bit American dominated. But, you know, like I said, I was the first person to really show up and have a desire to, you know, improve and, you know, push these games forward. But yeah, then Fretzy out of nowhere. Fretzy's been around for years, for 2-3 years at this point. I'd seen his race times like 8 hours for Sky, because this man gets kicked down, he will not quit a race. And you know, when you die in PMD, it's the most brutal thing you can endure.
Yep.
But he will finish that run, and that's why he ended up getting those 8-hour times. And I didn't realize that at the time. I thought it was just because he was not quite that good.
Mm-hmm. For those that didn't know, Fretzy basically has times on every leaderboard, even if they are like last place by miles.
How many are last place? I know
last place in Gates, last place in Super.
Pull up his Super time. I don't know.
It's like 10 hours or something. It was 8 hours, 9 hours.
8 hours, 53 minutes, 20%. Which is like historically bad, but that's because the man doesn't give up, which is so admirable. He also did most of those times in what we call series races, which is when Halqery and Fretzy decided to snort cocaine one day and do every single mystery dungeon in a row for some reason.
It was an idea I came up with after seeing the Super Mario 602, where you do Mario 64 120 star into Galaxy 120 star into Sunshine 120 shine into Galaxy 2 242, all in one sitting. And I participated in that race in 2014, and then just kind of observed after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what if we did this in PMD? Like, what would we call it? Like, I started trying to come up with a name around how many floors there are total in the series, but that sounded really dumb. So I was like, fuck it, it's a series race.
891, I think is what the number was. And it was like, that doesn't roll off the 602.
Something like that.
So you're the creator of the series race concept.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they did a lot of series race and series race attempts. I tried one in 2018.
Yeah, but we I don't think it was ever intentional, but we did do these semi-annually, just like the 602. The first one was July 22nd or somewhere between July 22nd and July 24th of 2017. I remember it was just after I had decided I was moving to Florida, and I left my job, and I was like, all right, cool, I have like a whole weekend where I have zero responsibility and nobody to answer to. I'm gonna play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon for 24 hours. It was miserable, actually, because
I bet. Yeah,
we didn't use Wondermill for any of the games at that time.
Oh my god, I didn't even consider that. Oh fuck.
Oh no, we used Wondermill for Super. Because playing that game without Wondermill is heresy. But Gates to Infinity without Wondermill codes, with no all protect orbs, no all power up orbs, Sky with no Wondermill, and Blue Rescue Team with only quick saves. And Gates, I got so mad at Gates at one point, I actually had to leave my apartment and go take a walk. I stopped playing because I was so mad.
And now it's this man's favorite game.
I love Gates to death.
I just like my only attempt at a series race was kind of a special one because we started like pretty late into the day because I really wanted to do one, but I couldn't get I was doing some event with my church in the morning, and I didn't get back to like 2 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah, so in December, we actually partnered with Speed Gaming. Speed Gaming was doing this thing where it's like, all right, for the month of December, we're just having our channels completely open. If you have any content ideas, anything you want to do on our stream, just send us a message and we'll get back to you. I was like, oh, we could do the series race on Speed Gaming. That'd be cool.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I reach out to them, and they say yes, but I wanted to have 4 people because I didn't want to be 2 people. That's kind of lame. I didn't want to be 3 people because that's an ugly layout. So 4. So Likeanoob wanted to do one, like you just said. Cobral, or no, not Cobral. I think it was Cheese, actually. Cobral didn't play.
The one you're referring to is you, Cobral, Cheese, Coom, but that was a while.
Yeah.
No. I'm referring to December of 2017. It was me, Cheese, you, and Fretzy, I think. And Cheese ended up winning that just barely, even though he was the dark horse to win.
That's right. Was it?
Remember we had to say esports instead of fuck because it was a friendly stream.
Yeah, Fretzy was like, just say esports. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, so Cheese kind of entered like, fuck it, why not? And it was really expected that I was going to win because I had the best times in pretty much every game at that point. Cobra wasn't playing, so that means I could win a race for once. I didn't mention, but Cobra did win that original series race. The man didn't eat for 24 straight hours or drink anything.
Why would he not?
Got a 2340, didn't eat or drink anything during the entire time.
Why would he not?
I messaged him the next day. I'm like, are you okay? And he was like, yeah, we had an argument about this the other day where he was like, no, I didn't throw up. And I'm like, yes, you did throw up. And I went back and read the messages, and he said, Yeah, I think I can't do that again because something bad happened yesterday.
Oh
and I think I assumed that to mean that he threw up. So the jury's still out, but I think he threw up. But anyways, after that, obviously, Cobral was very discouraged from running PMD again.
Yeah.
I mean, what is he going to throw up if he didn't eat or drink? He's just going to gag, right?
Just dry heaving.
Yeah.
Okay, I found the original PMD series race document that we used back in 2017, 2018 when we did these. We wanted to do a 4-person series race, and it was, or like you said, and it was you, me, Fretzy, and Cheese. Fretzy could not make it.
No, Fretzy was there. He quit in BRT.
That's right. Fretzy was there and quit in BRT. And then I remember doing blue, getting a 10 minutes in front of everybody else because I was the only one like really adept at quick saving at the time. And then in the middle of gates, it was like hour 7 of gates, and I'm sitting in my bathroom taking a dump, and I'm just sitting there staring into space and being like, it's 11 p.m. Can I really do this for 15 more hours? And then I walked right back into my computer and I said, I'm going to bed, guys. I'm sorry.
Fuck this, I'm out. You guys have fun.
Never attempted a series race after that.
Yeah, you guys have fun. Mm-hmm. Which is... So, I think we skipped ahead to get to 2017, right? Just talk about that.
We've skipped around a lot, but I feel like we mentioned series race and we got talked about.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But
I want to go back into a little bit of...
Because we just started talking about Fretzy, is what happened.
That was dumb clarity.
Yeah, I definitely had some of that. But yeah, like, especially like if we go back to, oh my gosh, Secure. Okay. Going back to, I think the last world record we kind of mentioned was Chansey doing some save quit, like extra.
Oh no, we were mentioning Fretzy.
Fretzy
being somebody that had, I don't want to say no business holding a world record, but had no activity prior to get expectations up to him having a world record.
Right.
Because he was not active. He was not grinding the game. I believe he got this time in a race.
Yeah. So like we would do like weekend races for Sky. And it was really just like, hey, if you're here, let's help in a voice call and do just a race or two of Sky. And that's basically all the runs we would do of it. So most of the like Sky times in this time frame was always like in race settings.
Okay.
I think we were in SRL at that time.
Oh my god, the 619 was Fretzy Tower.
It was. I was going to ask about that. Let's talk about Fretzy Tower. Do you want to explain what Fretzy Tower is, Josh?
This man walked in, I think maybe 20 seconds ahead of me, potentially. And I swear to God, out of the like 20-something floors of Temporal Tower, 16 of them were stair floors.
That's correct.
It was absolutely absurd.
That's correct.
And he ended up getting a sub 620, 619, 44. I don't want to say undeserved, but fucking Christ, where's that for me? Where's that for anybody else?
It was a very interesting end to a very interesting run.
Yeah, so Fretzy got that record.
Moving on.
And then this is when Likeanoob decided to pick up Time Darkness in the Sky. He told me he will never run Time Darkness in the Sky because it's way too long. Never ever. You will never catch him running the game.
What ended up happening to me was I was busy with school. I was on a JV basketball team at the time. I was playing travel basketball. And I was like, I can't sit down and do a 6-hour run. I'm busy every weekend kind of deal. And then I stopped playing travel basketball. Something happened on my basketball team that made me basically stop playing for my high school, all in a span of a couple weeks. And that was like the beginning of my sophomore year of high school. And I'm like, I'm straight chilling, dude. I have nothing to do. Let me just start doing this. The speedrunning idea is really fun. Let me start cranking on these world records. And I think like there was nothing that I did that was, game breaking or really like, innovative. It was just optimizing what was already there.
Well, not necessarily for the most part. Yeah, I mean, Ryalu is still to play because he was one of the best characters in the game at the time and still is. But there was a user named Canis Saboru that had joined the Discord and was, an up and coming runner. He grinded the game religiously, pretty much every day.
Oh, yeah.
And got really close to world record on so many occasions, but never quite got it. But his big claim to fame contribution was the idea of using Cyndaquil instead of Vulpix.
Okay.
Cyndaquil is, for the most part, I want to say more risky. Might be more risky.
This is still 2015, though, by the way, right?
20. Yeah, this is 2015.
I actually have.
Yeah, this is 2015.
Yeah, I have clips of his like highlights.
So the biggest draw for Cyndaquil is the fact that it gets Lava Plume before you fight Dusknoir and the Sableye.
Mm-hmm.
And with a Violent Seed, if you get everybody like surrounding Cyndaquil, he will OHKO everybody around him with one Lava Plume.
Mm-hmm.
So it saved time on that one strat, and then everywhere else it was marginally worse than Vulpix. So
yeah,
it was something we went for.
He was like grinding Sky religiously for like 2 or 3 months in the early 2016, late 2015 range, which is when like a lot of these other things are happening. When my Time Darkness and Blue records, my eventual Sky record ages from down the line, stuff like that.
Right.
And he did a lot of like work, kind of like there was a lot of ideas floating around, and he was kind of like, yeah, let me do this. Let me see. No, this is bad. No, this is good. It's actually really tragic because he never actually finished a Sky run, and submitted a run. He has some special episodes runs floating around places. In theory, I don't know if any of them are actually highlighted anymore. But he definitely did a lot of stuff in the time frame he was here.
Okay, so is that all right? So this is late towards the end of 2015, right? Or are we?
Yeah.
No, okay.
This might have been early 2016, like very, very early 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
There was not a whole lot else happening. There was some blue records. The blue time got down to 2:12:02 after Worcester had traded it with Likeanoob.
Yeah. Me and Worcester kind of went back and forth. What would usually happen is Worcester would develop a strategy, and I would grind it down to a good time. And then he would develop a good strategy, and then I would grind the time down, and we would just kind of ping pong back and forth. Mm-hmm. We were still not using Wondermail in these runs, so like he figured out that in Lapis Cave you could pick up a Facade TM, which helped with damage output generally, and like some stuff like that. He had a really crazy Great Canyon floor 12. Which is, if you've watched a save and quit where you just go around the circle. It's one of those rooms where it's like a huge like long skinny room, and then some small rooms out of here. And what you would do is you would start one of these small rooms and then go around like a loop for a while until everybody in this big room like cleared out, and you would go in. Okay. And it was really flashy. And I remember like when I was doing my save quit showcases, I would try to do that strat just to show off the craziness this game could have.
I like that concept. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Is this the first instance though of like TMs being used?
Oh yeah, the Facade TM was the first time TMs were even thought to be used. I'm sure somebody used an Attract TM in a run in the Dark Ages in 2014, 2015. That super early no save and quit time. I'm not entirely certain what was going on in that no save quit this point in time. Halq, I don't know if it was still pretty dead, because I remember Cobral's DS time stood for a very, very long time. But yeah, it was just a lot of like, that was our first.
Well, the time that was, we were stuck with the 250, 352, and then in Bison's 249. Mm-hmm. So there was not any progression beyond that for no save and quit, because we fought so hard to make that different, but that was still only like, it was considered a beginner category, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like you would start with no quick save into Wondermail, and then you would graduate to quick saves.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of new shiny toys happening around us that we felt like we needed to go do.
Was there like not so much a stigma against like the other category, but more so just like this is like where the big boys play. This is where the interesting thing.
Yeah, pretty much. This is
on.
where Worcester was. This is where Likeanoob was. This is where, you know, I dabbled in. I got one world record in there.
Yeah.
You know, like right after I beat Worcester by a second when he posted his initial route. Literally, I got that time just reading off the notes. I didn't practice at all. Now, Worcester ended up this whole back and forth with Likeanoob with a 2:12:02, which stood for the record despite both me and Likeanoob trying so hard to beat it. He tried to beat it in the moment. And then the summer afterwards, I tried my best to beat it, and I could not. I got one run. I got 2:09 pace into Rayquaza, and I had no seeds. Likeanoob100 did not have a 0 seed Rayquaza strat on his sheet.
Yeah.
So I lost the run. I didn't know what to do.
Oh, shit.
But then after that was the closest I ever got. But then we took what we did. I don't know whether Sky had Wonder Mill first or BRT. I think it might have been.
I think Sky caused BRT. I think that's the progression. Something interesting to know.
Oh no, we started Wonder Mill with Blue first. So then I get to thinking, I'm like, man, you know, we sit so long like here grinding for mission RNG and hoping that it goes well, and we could literally just Wonder Mill in missions, and the rewards could be great things. Like Frustration does 45 static damage every time.
Right.
And the idea for Wonder Mill in the run was my idea for Blue Rescue Team, but I think it was Likeanoob that really put in the work to, you know, kind of make the route into what it ended up being. It was very, very collaborative, I think.
This is like the origin of
what we'd call today unrestricted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of I don't say debate. I'm really the odd one out that just doesn't like to do Wonder Mill codes and decided to do the quick save strats without Wonder Mill codes. And it just happened to be that I think it's a more fun category to watch. Just because there's a more variety of stuff to do, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like I just mentioned that I was the one that came up with the idea to use Wonder Mill codes in Blue Rescue Team, but in my opinion, if you were to try to submit this to a marathon, all the chat would be saying is, "Why are you using cheat codes? Why are you using cheat codes?"
Right? Yeah.
Just play the fucking game.
And also, especially nowadays, it's just warp scarfing from point A to point B. With a little bit of variety. There's some cool strats with a Troll Orb in to get your chestnuts quicker, and a couple other things that are cool. But it's just like if you have no Wonder Mill, you're stuck to finding frustration TMs off the ground, which is not that easy, and doing all that sort of stuff too.
So wait, was Frust a thing at this point, or no? You're just like saying that?
Not right now. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Talking ahead of this
no.
that ended up happening.
You're good. I'm just clarifying.
Side note,
yeah. So we got the origins of Wonder Mill and the unrestricted category going, and
it was still considered just the any percent S save and quit route. It wasn't until I don't know if it was me that made a big deal about it or requested it, but I was like, you know, I feel like playing this game, there should be a category for this game that's without Wonder Mills, because Wonder Mills, the game designers didn't intend for you to use quick save manipulation, sure, but using Wonder Mill codes to basically replace things that you have to do in the game with way easier things just feels like, you know, circumventing the game in a way that's not transformative. You know, you're just kind of replacing these things just with arbitrary code execution, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's like the thing that I think puts Wonder Mill into that more of a gray area for the first two games at least is that the way the Wonder Mill generates codes and missions to go from that is a language within itself, right? So it can be cracked. There's a technically finite but practically infinite variations of codes you can put in. Just look for, you know, PMD1 Wonder Mill generators, PMD2 Wonder Mill generators. They have cracked the code. So it's like, are you doing what the game really has for you, or you just it's more of that gray area, and it's different.
All Wonder Mill was designed to be in the original game was just for ways for people to go like, oh man, I had this mission where I had to, you know, recruit or rescue this mine from Upper Forest, and it was really cool. Like, you know, the mine in was so far in, like it was such a late mission. Oh, how'd you? I want to play that. Oh, here's the Wondermail code, and you share. You share the Wondermail code, and now your friends can play that mission. But we definitely took it to a different level.
Yeah, and it just depends on how you look at the game. And
I think back in World War II, trying to crack the Enigma or whatever the fuck,
Yeah,
but
I think the real if you just look at our boards now, you can tell that we really prioritize giving a spotlight to however you want to speedrun this game. No matter kind of what rule set or restrictions you put on yourself. We have so many categories in the first two iterations of the series. We have category extension boards that have who knows how much crap on there. And I'm not saying crap as like a demeaning sense, but
I would say every game has its default leaderboard set to the easiest game to get in, or the easiest category to get into, aside from Sky. Because Sky Wondermill is not for the faint of heart, and we're not even going to pretend for a moment it is.
Yeah.
But BRT is defaulted to no quick save, no Wondermill. Super and Gates are both defaulted to Wondermill. Time Darkness is defaulted to no Wondermill. And in my opinion, those are the easiest categories to get into because Super without Wondermail is insanely punishing. Oh, we didn't even talk about the release of Super.
Because I was about to say
there were three things that happened in 2016 that were very significant in terms of our community and kind of what happened from there board wise too. The first one is just Super being released. It released, holiday season 2015, early 2016. And of course, who else but Cobrawl to be the first one to do it.
That man had a 720 out of 720, 100% completed file within 7 days of the game's release.
That's kind of crazy.
I died on Dark Matter and didn't want to play anymore. Because I didn't know the boss would be progressive to where the damage I already dealt would be calculated and capped. I thought I'd have to redo the entire Tree of Life over again. I'm like, fuck that. This game's not that important to me. Put it down. And I hadn't seen it since until Cobrawl started posting runs. And that was actually the first time I found out about NTR Viewer. I know Cobrawl did not have a capture card because 3DS capture cards were a rare treasure in 2016. Like only the highest of rollers could afford them.
The idea behind NTR Viewer was it's a modded 3DS, which basically uses, I don't know if it's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, to translate what's happening on your screen into your computer. It isn't the best.
It sets up your 3DS as a network camera.
Yeah, basically.
And using your 3DS's IP address, you can read that camera on your desktop. Now, it's a little bit choppy. It's a little bit not pixelated, but it's a way to record the game without it needing a complicated webcam setup. And Ryan Sweeney still has a signed copy of Super from me. Yeah. When I was world record holder, I did a giveaway of the game where I signed the game, and he happened to win it.
Oh, that's funny actually. It probably had a total of like 5 entrants. How many people entered that?
It was like 40 or so. That was when I was
that's not bad.
Big-ish. It just happened to be Cobrawl and Sweeney.
So Halq, I would say Halq was our premier content creator in terms of PMD stuff until Cheese started being super.
There's a good topic to talk about because who were the streamers?
So
during this era?
There's a very interesting concept when it comes to all of this because you can even see this in Pokemon speedrunning just right now. There are kind of two groups of people who do speedruns. There are the speedrun purists who basically, have their capture card, have their basic layout, stream their attempts because it's really easy to stream and then upload that stream footage. You think of people like Crafted and I'm blanking on names, but Worcester, Wave Warrior, those kind of people that are really good at the game and just kind of stream the game, right? They don't really care about following. They don't care about making content. They just want to play the game fast, have a platform for people who might want to see high-end content, play the game. there's that type of people, and then there's the actual like content creators. You would think of like your Pulse Effects, your Gen 4 gamer, Etchy, those kind of people that are like very charismatic people, always have their face cam on, doing speedruns because that's the content they love to do. There wasn't really anybody in that second category, not really anybody. And Halq was kind of that face, that very charismatic person in that former column that was streaming PMD. We didn't really have like a set in stone, we're making PMD content until what I think Whom came around. But Cheese definitely came in, and when he started streaming a lot, he kind of had that kind of
I had to beg and plead Cheese to start streaming. Like straight up. He was like, I'm about to go record another run with my camera. I'm like, Cheese, please just fucking stream. I know you think that you have this all figured out, and I know you think this is the best way, but I promise you it's so much easier to stream this shit.
But so
it's really funny that, I think Whom and Cheese would both point to me as their inspiration to start streaming. And they're both filling a gap that I left when I took a leave of absence in like 2018. So,
so
good on them.
So up until this point, Halq is like the quote unquote face of a PMD, essentially.
Well, I was definitely the loudest.
Yeah, I mean, think about who was streaming who was in the community at the time. We had
2017 was me, you, Fretzy, Cobral, Nyan Latios. I don't know if they were streaming that many runs. Swingy.
So for high end content, people streaming a ton. That's why Canis was so significant of a person, even though he didn't even have any main game speedruns done. He was there streaming every day, and that was kind of a presence we never had. Like, we had Halq, who was kind of there doing races, there doing attempts, and then you had two Germans, one barely understandable, one like 14 at the time.
Yeah,
we had one other American who was like 15 at the time. All very young teenagers, and it's like you just play the game. You don't think about making content or being a presence or anything at that age.
Yeah, like, and at least in my opinion, like the things that Whom and Cheese have done, I would just have considered it a waste of my time. Like, running the game in Japanese, why would I do that when I could just run in English? Running the game with it, getting as little experience as possible, that just sounds like self-harm. I don't want to do that. Plus, like, all these things that they're willing to do for content are things that I would not have put myself through just because it would have been a waste of time.
Plus, I'm assuming the community is still relatively like small right now in terms of active runners. So it's more so just like you guys are just doing this as like a hangout thing, just to do shit for your own small group, and it's not really like a big thing at all. So that's what I'm assuming the mentality was. But
yeah, I mean, you can even see it from like those clips we watched, or even from like 2017. That's 2 years away from what we're talking about right now, or a year away from what we're talking about right now, and it was still very much in that stage of we always prided ourselves on the tight knit quality we had.
Yeah, so speaking of tight knit, we all value each other really highly in terms of being the best for their game. This is when Huma's DS comes into the picture for Blue. Is it not?
Oh wait, no, because we didn't even talk about.
We're not close there. Yeah, so like we're at Super, right?
Oh, you're talking about 2017 and Cheese and Whom, and I was like, oh, 2017. Okay, that's when Whom comes in.
No, we took a little bit of a detour when we were talking about Fretzy Tower stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when Super came out, Riolu starter, Chespin partner. Halq could probably talk about why these were chosen better than I can.
It doesn't take rocket science to look at the Pokemon list and see that Riolu has the highest attack stat with a decently respectable speed stat. So that's the reason why he was chosen as the leader. But the problem with Riolu is that he doesn't learn a good move until level like 17 or something when he gets Force Palm. So he really, really struggles in the early game. Chespin also modest attack stat, gets rollout, which hits like up to 5 times a turn for 20 damage a hit. Which can grow obviously with the more times it uses it. Move growth, it returns from gates to infinity. Then it becomes really insane in the end game. But like I said, with Riolu just struggling to learn moves, it really is a painful route. And Cobral was the only one that was able to make it look good at any point before Cheese came. He was the only person to get a run, worth a damn, actually. Like, I'm gonna go see what my PB was with Real HgFin. So yeah, Cobral had like the 830 or whatever with Super, and then like really quickly he got that down to a 634.
Okay.
Or 634. The next best time at that time was me with a 6. Well, no. I didn't finish a run. Wait, no, yes I did. Wait, when did Cheese come out? 20. All right. My best time was 6:38:45. And that was an insane run. I can't explain how insane that was. But it still wasn't good enough. And I'm like, I don't understand how he could be this fast when I poured my heart and soul into this shit and I can't get anywhere. And that just speaks to, I think, one, his skill. Just, because we're both running the same route, same resources, same notes, but he does that and I do this. Right. It's the exact same thing we've seen with the 10 Dungeon Blitz tournament. And he's running the same ROM as these people, with the same goal, same objective in mind. He just has a knack for adapting quickly and overcoming, anybody in his way.
Well, so that's as far as Super got essentially until Cheese came, right? And I don't think I want to get into post Cheese this episode. So let's put Super on pause here.
Yeah.
And let's go back to Sky, because I see, or Time and Darkness, because Halqey figured out.
Oh my god, yeah. So the big problem with Time and Darkness as opposed to Sky is that in Sky you have the partner list and it scrolls through pages, so you can see everybody that is selectable as a partner. Time and Darkness, or Beta Sky as we like to call it, does not have that feature. It has one list with like 7 to 8 starters on it when there's like 15 or 16, or not 15, like maybe like 12, 13 partners you can pick from. And we always thought, damn, okay, I didn't get the partner I wanted. I have to reset and do the whole quiz over again. And then I think I was starting a run and I tried to pick somebody and I thought I pressed A to pick them. And I was starting to mash B to get rid of their name. And I pressed B and went too far and then completely backed out of them. And I was like, oh, well, these are different now.
Yeah.
It took us like so long, like years to figure that out.
Damn. Okay.
So that definitely cut down on the resets a lot and made Time and Darkness viable as like I don't want to say alternative, but
see, that's something that's just so like simple. Like there's a lot of things I think like this in this game, which we don't even discover till like later, like last year. But it's just something so simple and easy that no one even realized that you could do.
So what we've kind of seen for a while, especially in this era, was taking a lot of, Sky's the premier category of PMD2, right? You do a lot of stuff in Sky. And if you're bored with Sky, maybe you want to play Meowth instead of Riolu, you go play Time Darkness. So a lot of the strats that were developed in Sky that could have also been applied to Time Darkness were just eventually taken to Time Darkness, and then runs were done there. So a lot of this improvement from Halq in this time of Time Darkness was, just as simple as porting Cyndaquil over. The world record before he started doing these attempts in late 2016 still had Meowth Mudkip.
Okay. Well, so something I realized we might have missed was before this even happened in Sky, the Wii U.
Oh yeah. So the big three that happened in 2016. We talked about Super. We'll talk about Sky. It's kind of more encompassing to everything, but there was a cool little system that was flopping really hard called the Wii U. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it. The successor to the Wii, even though
I got it.
Wii 2.0.
I got it in a box somewhere around here, and I'm not entirely sure where, but
yeah. So it was just a little console, and it had DS virtual console game. It had a very limited run of the games that were on there. And for some reason, there were very significant games that were in there. Ranger was in there, which is the fastest way to speedrun Pokemon Ranger to this day. And all three of the major Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games that were released at the time for the DS were in there. Blue was there, Red was there, and Sky was there. And it took us very quickly to figure out that these ways to play these games were very fast in relation to DS.
Virtual Console has been throughout history very widely accepted for the game in communities like Ocarina of Time. Mario 64 has a category for it. Generally it's considered okay emulation at best. DS emulation actually started with the Wii U back in 2014, so there was still this little hope that someday there'd be PMD games on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And we got it, but it wasn't quite what we saw. Red Rescue Team on the GBA was ported. That worked pretty well. The emulation on that didn't really have any issues. It mostly loaded okay. DS just loaded ridiculously fast. It wasn't even like there was a virtual DS behind the machine. It was using the machine itself, the Wii U, to process the game and play it as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really evident until I did that run where I got a 614, which 614, where is it? I think I got like a 611 or something exhibition run, just where I did one and then it ended up being a world record, even though I thought it was really shitty. It was a really, really shitty run. I'm like, how did this run that I lost like tons of reviver seeds and I got 7 monster houses? How did all this shit happen and I still have the best time?
Mm-hmm.
And we determined it was load times. I got to the end and we were still using IGT at the time. And my IGT was like 6. I got a 611, so it was like 610, 607. I'm like...
and for context, the DS IGT is like a 10-minute difference between real time and actual time. There was a very big discrepancy where Wii U basically had no load times. DS had a decent amount of load time.
Right.
So every top runner does, they go and pick up a Wii U. I remember I picked up a Wii U and a Nintendo eShop card. I did not buy a single Wii U game until 2020.
Yeah. Dude, I feel like I know, I'm pretty sure Anthem was just like that too when he came into the scene. Just I wonder how many runners were like that as well, where they only bought the Wii U specifically to do this shit.
I bought the Wii U in 2012, so I had it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is fucking...
I didn't have a whole lot for it. I had Wind Waker HD when that came out. But other than that, I didn't have a whole lot of games for it.
This whole concept is fucking laughable now, of course.
Yeah.
But
so the leaderboards are still on IGT, and I'm like, I really want to play on this Wii U thing because it's much more convenient to record with an HD capture card. I don't have to run 2 separate cables from my DS to the computer to record both the video and the sound. So I campaigned to have it legalized and have the time and method changed to RTA. I'll admit it, just out of convenience. Plus with IGT,
we didn't have.
It just had a lot of discrepancies to it.
Long.
If we had a clear-cut way for what counted towards IGT and what didn't, we might still be on IGT. But just because it was so unclear and vague, something that someone might not think of, like shopping in Treasure Town, may contribute less to IGT, but spending more time in a dungeon may contribute more or something. We just didn't know.
All right, well,
it wasn't IGT for very long. The reason why we switched to IGT was because I had a really good DS Sky run that unfortunately had like a 10-minute pause in it. This was still back when most of us were verifying each other's runs, so it was just like an unwritten rule that if there was a pause and there was a good reason for it, it's PMD. You're not going to try to calc anything out ahead of time or behind time. You're not,
that's not what Worcester thought.
Anything. Yeah,
Worcester was still around kicking as a moderator, and he saw the run and he denied it because, or he changed the time to what the time ended up being in RTA.
No, he just denied it and he said this needs to be retimed, retime it, resend it in. I'm looking through our DMs from 2016, and it's I was 16 at the time. I didn't really understand how the world worked
yeah,
as well as he did, even because he's quite a bit older than I am. And it was just like he was like, well, you pause, so you have to go to that time left to like put that time on.
Yeah. Okay.
But I had to do something in real life. What are you talking about? He's like, it doesn't matter.
He said you could have been calculating damage ranges ahead of time.
Yeah. Was that actually a serious thing, or was he just saying?
That's legitimately what he said.
Oh my god. Okay.
He said, well, I said like the only reason why it was segmented. Well, we were having like the segmentation argument. And I said, well, I paused. I didn't have a choice in the matter. I'm still under parent jurisdiction. And he's like, yeah, I get that. I'm 99.999% certain this is not cheated or anything. But it's single segment. It's defined as single segment, so it's time from start to finish, not time playing the game. So in the amount of time I played the game was like a 603 XX, which was
a ridiculous jump actually.
On a DS in 2016 was from 619 to 603 was like a ridiculous jump. But there is that asterisk to that where it's really a 614 XX because of the hold. That was part of the reason why we switched to IGT. Was kind of a rage. I will say it's kind of just like we like it better this way. We're gonna make it this way and like recognize the time.
So you kind of like spearheaded this? Is that
I don't know if it was I don't remember if it was me at the time. I wouldn't be surprised if it was me. I think it was more like me and Halq and maybe one other person got together and was like, IGT might be a better timing method anyway. Let's just try it out. Why not? I mean, you saw our moderating standpoints through this point. It wasn't really like, trying to be super professional. It was just, us trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
So that IGT idea was there for like 4 months.
Oh, okay. So yeah, what happened?
So I mean, this was one of the things that kind of led to a lot of strife between us and the main series Pokemon community. Now the big thing that kind of we already were upset because I got kicked off the mod team for doing what we literally agreed on, and then Likeanoob having his runs unverified when practically there was nothing wrong with it aside from the pause, which makes it from real-time attack to time attack.
So yeah, let me pause you. So like just like you and Noob of course have your own like grievances now each. What was the general consensus with like everybody else in PMD?
There wasn't really like a big enough community to have those kind of like,
because you guys were like, well, I mean, you guys were like homies, right? So I'm like, I don't know if like they were also like, yeah, like fuck these guys, or like, what's up?
We don't really have
the PMD community at the time always took our side, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
There was not really anything where they were gonna be like, why are the mods doing this? Let's protest. But like, the only thing that ever came up was a rule that we implemented that was put in by the main series, where if you're running on an emulator, you must capture the entire window, including the border that shows what version you're running. And with other emulators, it's pretty easy because it shows the window, the version pretty simply. Decimate had some quirks to it to where it couldn't be captured. You'd have to do a monitor capture and crop it all the way down. And some people were concerned that may lead to them accidentally revealing personal information, like if they showed it on stream over top of the monitor capture gameplay.
Yeah, that was like the only like moderating thing that.
And it wasn't even our fault. Like I went to Worcester. Worcester wasn't even in the Discord. It was his rule. And I'm like, hey, can you come fix this? This is the rule. People are upset about it. He was like, I can't be bothered to deal with idiots. And he never joined the server. So,
which fair. It's a take I can agree with and
I'm not paraphrasing, by the way. It's literally what he said.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered to deal with idiots.
All right then.
So it's just those kind of comments that really don't make it much of a surprise that we really had the support from our community.
Yeah.
Now the number one thing that led us just to completely separate and cut ties was our channel in the Pokemon speedrunning Discord got removed. Okay. Inactivity because we weren't talking in it for like a week.
But were you guys still talking like the Skype group or no?
The Skype groups.
That's dead now, right?
No, we were just DMing each other.
Okay.
Like, we didn't really have a reason. There weren't enough of us that there was a reason to talk in the Mr. Dungeon channel for like a full week.
Okay, but like a weekend, I don't understand.
Hey, Halq, was this the fuckers plus Fretzy era?
We had a group chat of pretty much everybody in the PMD community on Discord, so we mostly talked in that, which was the
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, yeah, there's another like group.
I think it was like we had a huge group chat where we would be like, hey, anyone want to race today? Let's just call on Discord in this group chat to chill out. You know, there's only about 7 of us in this group. I think it was like me, Halq, Cobral, Fretzy, Sweeney Todd RS, who goes by Whoopity Doopity now, Mistaldi, and maybe he was added way later, but it's like a couple of those people, and we were just like, we would call out of there. Cheese was in it. I believe
we would post new world records in the Pokemon Speedrun channel that we had.
We would give updates, and we would like answer questions of people that were coming into there. But I don't know. I think it was a lot of us didn't want to like interact with the main series people that were giving us a lot of flack.
Right.
Because we definitely I think it's a little entitled thinking back at it now. But we definitely saw ourselves as like something very separate from any other Pokemon side game. Because
we definitely thought we were above it. I mean, but that's rooted in some merit because the Mystery Dungeon series actually predates Pokemon. There was Mystery Dungeon games on the SNES, so
yeah. But I mean, like, even like in terms of runner volume, there was like maybe 1 or 2 people that would do runs on other side games. There was 10 of us in the PMD community doing Mystery Dungeon runs.
Right.
So what ended up happening is in order to get rid of clutter in the main Pokemon speedrunning Discord, they compiled all the side game channels into one channel called Side Games.
That's the worst idea I've ever heard.
No, not all of them though. There was some side games that were active enough to be kept open. One of them being the Pokemon trading card game video game. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have your community second to the Pokemon trading card video game? It was completely laughable because like I do genuinely remember that the amount of time we spent talking there, the absence of any conversation was not very long. They just happened to pick a bad period from us.
Yeah.
And they combined our channel and we lost it. And like you can't just go on for hours and hours talking about routing and Mystery Dungeon in something that's meant for everybody.
I mean, what do they expect you guys to be talking about the whole time?
They didn't actually expect anything from us, which is why we lost our channel, because they're like, okay, they haven't come here in 2 weeks, so what's going to make them change now?
Yeah. All right. Well,
I mean, I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt into them thinking that, you know, that this is we're getting rid of clutter. Any game that doesn't have a big presence, let's just throw into side games. They'll sort themselves out. I feel like if you ask any moderator from that time frame in that server or in like main game Pokemon series at all that are affiliated with that, they would say that it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, it's back at it.
I don't think the decision was ever made with malice, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But it definitely rubbed us the wrong way and gave us the push we needed to actually create our own Discord server. So that's what Cobral did in March of 2016 or May of 2016, I think it was actually. We made a Discord server and linked it there. They let us link it there so that people that were interested in Mystery Dungeon could join there and we could have our Mystery Dungeon discussions. And that's where our Discord came from, actually.
Was there any like restraint in keeping you guys, or was it just like
that did not come through Discord? That came through speedrun.com.
Oh yeah.
Because we were trying to have the games classified as Mystery Dungeon games because we didn't like the main moderators of Pokemon speedruns because they had really stupid rules like the emulator capture rule. Worcester was like hyper strict about literally everything. He would make rules and expect us to enforce them and then not defend them if they're ever questioned. Like it was just tyranny for to use kind of an inappropriate word. It was tyranny, and we didn't like being under such harsh guidelines because it was kind of expected. It was an unwritten rule that all the side games act like main series games in terms of all their rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was like that thought of side games very much like main games in terms of how they were ran, just kind of clashed with what was going on in our mind. I really very much believe that Halq and I were the two ones that were invested the most in terms of how the community was run, from that moderation standpoint. So there's definitely we're definitely the most opinionated of the people that were around back then, in terms of that kind of stuff. But it was just one of those strict holds, that we felt like it was unnecessary at a certain.
So once again, I was the one that pulled the trigger, and I requested to speedrun.com directly to have the game is moved from Pokemon to Mystery Dungeon. And that request was not taken very lightly by Worcester. Again, he ended up making another forum post talking about how I'm a shitty moderator.
Bro, he just can't keep your name out of his mouth, bro.
He can't. I mean, he's a fan. But just to prove a point, we went ahead and made a Mystery Dungeon series on speedrun.com and added every game that was ever released as a Mystery Dungeon game, and we're still the moderators of it currently. That was just to prove a point. The whole reason, me and DHRGR made the Mystery Dungeon leaderboards, and we're still moderators of it today. And we only did that to prove a point that Pokemon is just one of the labels of the game. Mystery Dungeon takes up more words in the title than Pokemon, and it actually predates Pokemon.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that whole thing is that now the PMD series is one of very few games that has multiple series tags in the title. It has the Pokemon and the Mystery Dungeon in it, which I find super cool. How many?
Yeah, they said, we can put it in both. I'm like, you can do that? Sure, yeah, let's do that.
Very few games that fall under that category, which is very, very cool in my eyes.
Which I always thought this was tight because it's just we're our own fucking thing, separate.
Yeah, they definitely gave us a degree of independence that we didn't have before, because before we were simply Pokemon games. And I mean, we still do have a degree of dependence on this main series Pokemon. When Rescue Team DX came out, we did have to ask Etiquette, one of the PSR mods, to add the game for us since they wouldn't let us for some reason. I was trying to add the demo so people could do demo speedruns, and they wouldn't let us until the full game was released. And then even then, I wasn't allowed to do it. So it wasn't a big deal. He was very nice about it and did it immediately. So I didn't care.
Yeah. Not surprised it was you that pulled the trigger, Halq, as being one of the few Americans in the in the community. But so now we have our own leaderboard. What was the process of setting that up other than did you change anything category wise? What happened?
What it appears today was very different from what it looked like. We went through a lot of different changes. We first had different filters and drop down filters and under one category, or the main categories, any percent beat Darkrai, all icons, whatever category it is. But then it had Wonder Mail, no Wonder Mail, save and quit, whatever. It was all filters. And then we went from that to having weird English, Japanese split stuff. It was very messy for a very long time. And I still think it's decently messy, but I think it's the least messy it could possibly be for what we need to do with it.
No, it's the best. The current version is the best iteration for sure.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that any mistakes that are made with the PMD community now are our mistakes. We don't have anybody to point to as, this is your fault. Why did you do this to us?
Yep.
It gave us complete accountability for the leaderboards, for better or for worse. And it really felt like it was our community finally. We were the ones who were going to cultivate this new 100% independent land, for just to be dramatic, but it was nice. You know, we didn't really rely on anybody anymore.
Yeah. I think around this point was when Worcester just removed himself from the moderating team. And after that, there was no moderators that weren't integral into our community anymore.
No PSR mods.
Yeah, there was no PSR mods inside of our like moderating speedrun.
Worcester had already been removed from the other games because he didn't run them. That was the decision that we decided as PMD mods. He was only moderating Red and Blue Rescue Team, and then he removed himself. So,
okay, so he saw himself out essentially.
Yeah,
he just didn't want anything to do. Did you think you guys left like a bad taste in his mouth, or do you just think?
Definitely, I think his view of me, if there's anything at all, is not amazing, just because of that one because the only interaction I ever had with him was that weird Sky fiasco.
He's definitely not a fan of me. I mean, I think Keysron put it best when I was talking to him. He's like, "Oh no, once you've been idiotized by Worcester, there's no going back. Like once you're kind of dead to him at that point." So I'm like, yeah, whatever. He's one guy, you know. His opinion, grain of salt.
It's really funny because like he's the one that like gives out the message of, hey, you got accepted into the PSR marathon. So like I had that long conversation with him about Sky.
In the DMs.
There was a like 2-year break, and then that DM of him saying, hey, you got accepted into the PSR marathon.
That's the funniest shit,
it's
dude.
Just funny.
No, that's fucking classic. Oh my god. And
then the other classic is me and Halq were going through main series games. He was doing a Voltorb flip, Heart Gold Soul Silver, 80% glitchless run. And I was trying to get in contact with him about any notes he had about that, because I wanted to try to figure out how to learn that. And there was the PSR message of getting into the PSR marathon message, my 80% glitchless notes request for Heart Gold Soul Silver, and then another PSR marathon acceptance request.
So, which means you got no response about.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's on red, dude.
It's understandable. He prides himself in his notes. He doesn't let.
Yeah. I mean, if he didn't share, the quick save shit, there's no way he's sharing that shit in general. No, but I just think that's super interesting how we fucking or how you guys separated, which is why I think that's like a good like chapter closer for the early era of this game series. So like, do you guys have anything else to say about like this whole process, or anything else we might have missed during this era?
I can't imagine myself going through all that again right now when I'm 24 years old, because it was mentally, emotionally, and physically taxing to do all that on a daily basis.
I mean, you had all that young energy.
Like I was just so energetic. Like I just had the time, I had the energy, I had the will, and like it's just like, no, thank God things are settled down now. I couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if it would have happened today, I think we would have handled it differently, right? Just because it's no like stranger that you grow up and you learn and you figure out how the world
I've
works.
become a hell of a lot more diplomatic through moderating PMD, and that's reached out to my that's affected my personal life as well. I go back and read some of the messages I sent as a moderator, and I'm just like, why did you say it like that? Like the people that were complaining about the monitor capture thing for Desmume, I was a little harsh. I was like, this guy can't fucking figure it out, and we're supposed to fix it. I was saying that like the general chat. I was like, why are you saying it like that? You need to be more professional than that. Nowadays, I think I have that sheen, in the messages and presentable.
Yeah, and I think like, I don't know, for me, I would be like to I can't even speak today, dude. To address what Captain Rockgun just said, saying that this is Worcester's cue to come back and start becoming,
the same way we've aged and gotten more mature and just kind of grown out of these things. I think Worcester's definitely just moved on.
And I mean, if he wants to come back to these games and try these games out,
he's more than welcome. Sure,
we will accept him open arms.
Which just to make it clear, this is a fucking history episode. We're not rehashing any old beef right now. We're just we are explaining what happened and telling it how it is.
That happened and it was important. It needs to be talked about.
So yeah, this isn't fucking drama or anything, but I think it's really fucking interesting to hear about, because So
that's just the stepping stones of where we are today.
Mm-hmm. But
and the crazy thing is we went over what 3 years of history, less than half the history in a 3-hour session. It's, definitely there's a lot to talk about, and it only gets larger when the community becomes big, because like we've only really had one event where PMD was really on a spotlight, which was when Worcester did his PSR run in 2018 of save and quit, back in its infant save and quit days. So this was like, beginning of our PMD server. There still wasn't a lot of people around. There was like, how many people do you think were on that server like a month after we created it? Like 25?
At most 50.
Yeah. And there's more than 1,000.
There's more than 1,000 in the server right now. Yeah. I would say most of the growth came from maybe RTDX and just
a lot of it, right?
The disbursement. Oh, I didn't mention this, but it's kind of a future thing. But the PSR server that we originally were shackled by is no longer a thing. They ended up splitting off everybody to their own communities. There's now a Switch speedrunning Discord, a 3DS speedrunning Discord, DS, GBA, Gen 1, Gen 2.
So you guys were the originators of split. Yeah, the trendsetter. That's crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I fuck with that. Hell yeah. So now all these other communities are fucking split off too.
Yeah, I think they just saw how successful it was and how, because I think we had more members than maybe the 3DS or DS speedrunning communities. Maybe not the DS, but definitely more than the Switch community.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty big-headed to say that we were the reason why they switched off. But I think
you guys were the first, so like,
yeah, I think they saw other communities with
we're just one success case.
Similar sizes that were like, it's better to have a centralized area like this instead of having a Discord that has upwards of 8,000 people in it for every single different type of Pokemon speedrun.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys still members of that server now?
I think I actually left it. Like
I left it too.
Very recently, because there's just like it's just archived now.
Yeah, it's archived now. You can't chat in anything.
Really?
I don't even think you can see certain channels unless you were able to have the roles to get into those channels.
The server's just dead now. Then
yeah, like it's supposed to be dead.
There's just no need for it anymore.
Okay. So now I'm guessing just every game has its own fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
Every collection, like the Switch, 3DS, DS, Gen 1, Gen 2.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about you, Halq, but I think I'm in every single one of those other than the GBC Discord.
Well, Gen 1, 2, and 3 are all in the same Discord.
Okay.
I'm there because we were going to run Fire Red at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think I'm in every single one of those Splinter Discords just to hang out and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I have run at least one thing from every console generation.
I've only really done runs of Gen 6, but I kind of just fuck around and watch all the kinds of gens. But yeah, that's I think that's a good stopping point, honestly.
Yeah.
For the early point of PMD.
Yeah. So closing thoughts. This was a great look back on this shit because I didn't know a lot of things. Like I knew about the whole drama of us leaving. I didn't know a lot of the other stuff, so I thought this was dope. What I want to do is end like the actual like podcast episode, and if you have to leave or want to leave, that's fine. But we could look back at that Gates thing we were talking about earlier before we started the show. And it just has
literally not. You'll see when you see it, but
yeah, you'll see.
I don't know how this ever got through verification.
Just as a fun little like bonus content thing. So like we'll cut this off for the YouTube portion, and then the Twitch. Anyone here watching will wants to stick around for that, feel free. Thought this was dope. Thank you so much, Noob, for joining as a guest appearance. I thought this was great because you fucking have so much to offer regarding the knowledge about the scene.
Yeah, and then we can get some. I think it would be a cool idea to get other people on for other generations.
Yeah, what I want to do is
Yeah, Chief came in and mentioned he was interested in doing this.
You know, I won't get details out, but I was thinking that during this episode actually, because I wasn't sure when we were gonna cut it off, and then I had a little bit of a epiphany. I was like, oh, we should cut it off like right at the end of when we split up from the main series community. But yeah, I will look forward to that, guys. Again, thank you, Noob, for joining. Thank you, Juice and Halq, as always, for hosting this shit.
Go follow these awesome people. Halqery is going on a PMD tear right now.
We're about to have a new piece of PMD history to talk about next week.
Yeah. I know, and I completely forgot to talk about that.
Four records in a week.
I know.
It's okay.
You're just running amok. You're just fucking going off right now. It's crazy.
And then there's stuff happening in this community. Like, you guys all have a lot to talk about. There's a whole game that's having a renaissance right now. Yeah. There's a whole event that's about to transpire. I think and
a new PMD game just dropped. WiiWare?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, Josh.
Oh.
yeah, the whole new renaissance.
Brand new PMD game on a 15-year-old console.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, look forward to that, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, like, or some shit, I still haven't uploaded before I end this. I still haven't uploaded the episode 3 because I wanted to play around with the audio settings and to see if I can make it any better, and I just haven't gone around to that yet. But I will do that hopefully by tomorrow, and then hopefully this one sooner than later. Anyway, yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you again for joining me. And have a good one.